Film is often used as a medium to reflect real-world conflict, not only as a form of entertainment, but as a way to creatively convey the struggles experienced by humans, both civilians and soldiers, in war. Born out of the ashes of World War II, Italian neorealism shows the gritty and non-romanticized true nature that war and conflict creates. After years of oppression from a fascist and authoritarian government, Italy finally became free, still smoldering from the destruction created by the war. Filmmakers took to the streets to make films, as their former film studios laid in ruin, along with countless other culturally significant European structures. Real-world conflict is represented in both Rome Open City and the Battle of Algiers. As is associated with the Italian neorealism genre, both films have a focus on revolution centered around a poor and neglected working class rising up against an authoritarian power. Rome Open City is a film centered around the fascist Italian government operating as a puppet state for Nazi Germany, following the story of the residents of Rome as they fight back against fascism. We can see the same plot in the Battle of Algiers, as members of the Front de Libération Nationale, the FLN, battle against the French colonial government in Algeria. Comparing both of these films, we can see clear similarities of how conflict is reflected across culture.
1944. Tribunal pour mineurs d'Oran. 2 ans de maison de redressement pour cause de désordre public.
Rome Open City follows revolutionary guerrilla fighters in a moral and physical battle with an authoritarian government as civilians face a struggle for normality. During World War II, the fascist Italian government operated as a puppet state of Nazi Germany. Thus, local Italian officials were forced to cooperate with the Gestapo and other German authorities. The title of the movie takes from the Declaration of Rome becoming an open city, where its fascist authorities vacated the city as Allied and guerrilla forces closed in. In this movie, we can see the moral struggle as civilians are caught up in the conflict against the government. This film is a landmark in the Italian neorealistic movement, and encapsulates the movement's ideals and film techniques. The Battle of Algiers is about the FLN's fight against the colonial French government. It poses many moral and ethical questions, as the FLN carries out bombings against Pied Noir, and French paratroopers torture and discriminate against the native Algerians. Guillaume Pontecorvo aimed to create a neutral representation of the conflict between two morally questionable powers, and to create awareness of the ongoing struggle for power in Algeria. The film was extremely controversial for its time, after it was banned for 3 years by the French government, as right-wing extremist organizations threatened bombings upon its release. As is defining with the Italian neorealism movement, the film style focuses around telling the realistic and true as possible story of human conflict and struggles. Many different techniques are used to create the most realistic film possible. Many shots are made in a cinema verite style, with camera placement shot as if it's a newsreel or documentary. This can be accomplished by the camera being placed from a window or balcony view, facing down onto a street and utilizing diegetic sound. The films also use very few professional actors, with most roles being filled by non-professional actors. In the Battle of Algiers, FLN members were randomly selected off the street by Pontecorvo. Jean Martin, playing Colonel Mathieu in the film, was a real French resistance member, and former French paratrooper before becoming a theater actor. He was chosen for the film because he could act professionally and realistically, while at the same time being mostly unrecognizable to audience members, as he had never been in any major motion pictures.
À mon tour maintenant de poser la question. La France doit-elle rester en Algérie? Si vous répondez encore oui, vous devez en accepter toutes les conséquences nécessaires.
Another main component of these films is that they were shot on location and in a make-do style. With Rome Open City, major film studios were destroyed by Allied bombing runs. Thus, filmmakers took to the streets in order to create movies. Embodying the movement is the use of any available resource to make films. Roberto Rossellini used a combination of different leftover film that the American GIs used when capturing Italy, as film was hard to come by in the years during and following the war. So for Rome Open City, the two scenes I want to use are the Gestapo raiding the apartment buildings and the ending scene of the movie where the priest is executed for assisting the freedom fighters. For the Battle of Algiers, I'm just going to use a scene where a boy hijacks the border intercom system and shouts pro-Algerian messages, and another scene where the FLN resistance fighters hiding in a building are bombed by French paratroopers. The ending scene of Rome Open City has strong similarities with the scene in the Battle of Algiers, where a boy hijacks the speaker system at the Arab quarters checkpoint. Both of them feature a call for resistance as the young boys join the fight against the authoritarian government. The other scene I want to compare is when the French paratroopers blow up the building that the FLN members are hiding in, and when the Gestapo raid an apartment building that contains Italian revolutionaries and their weapons. Both of these scenes are very similar, where resistant fighters are hiding in a building, but they both face different endings. In Rome Open City, the Italian resistant members end up getting arrested, but in the Battle of Algiers, the FLN members actually get blown up by the French paratroopers. By comparing these shots, I aim to find the similarities between the film techniques used, and primarily the plot similarities that can be seen cross-culturally. I also want to explore the history behind each film and explore how conflict is similar across completely different cultures and societies.